Okay, so we've learned what lists are already. They are linked lists where each element contains its value and a pointer to the next element. But now, how can we use lists in a meaningful way? We're going to create a simple shopping cart application where we can add, remove, update items in a cart, then get a total cost and even apply a discount to it. So let's go ahead and create a new project. Command space, and let's open up our terminal. And I'm going to just CD to the desktop. And then to create a new project, we're just going to do mix new. And then the name of the project, I'm going to call this shopping_cart and hit enter. And let's go ahead and just open Visual Studio Code. And open up a new folder here. And ours is the desktop shopping cart. Hit open. We can close the welcome. And let's go ahead and expand the lib directory and just open up shoppingcart.ex, and you can delete the hello world function. Over the next few modules, we are going to be building on a lot of the concepts that you're learning today and improving our code as we learn more about Elixir. We are focusing on lists and the list module in this video. The first thing you think about when shopping is probably adding an item to your cart. So let's write a function that could add an item to a cart. So I'm just going to say def for our function, and then we'll call this function add_item, opening and closing parentheses, and then a do block. And inside our do block, well, we need access to a cart and the item we want to add to the cart, right? So as an argument, we should probably pass in our cart and then our item that we want to add to the cart. And then we can just do this. Our cart is going to be a list. So we can say cart and then do ++. And then inside of square brackets, we can add our item. So here we're taking a list and then we're appending an item to that list with, we're concatenating it to the end of the list. Now we probably want to use pattern matching on our items, so at least we know that the values we need to work with exist. So we could do something like this. We can say equals, and then inside of a map, so percentage, and then opening and closing curly braces, we want to look for the key name, and we don't care what the value is, and we're looking for the key price, and we don't care what the value is. And now this basically is going to match a map that's passed in. And as long as it has a name and a price, it will be set to the variable item. And let's go ahead and go back to our terminal and CD into our project. So CD shopping cart, and then let's start up our Elixir shell with IEX space -S mix. And now we can go ahead and test this out, right? And we can do that by, I'm going to set a variable cart so we have reference to it when we are using it throughout this video. And then we can just call our module, which is shopping cart, and then add item. I might have to, I don't know if I saved it. Okay. Because it doesn't pull it up. So let's just go ahead and do a recompile. And then if we do shopping cart.add item, there we go. I didn't save it. Now we need to pass in a cart that we don't have. So it's going to be an empty list, comma, and then we need to pass in a map of our item, and we need that item to have a name. And let's call this, we'll call it Apple. We'll pass in an atom, Apple, and then it needs a price, and that price can be $2.82. We'll send in a float, and then close those parentheses. Now when we hit enter, before we hit enter, I want to set this equal to a variable again. So cart equals shopping cart.add item. Now when we hit enter, we're going to get a list back with one map inside. So that's pretty cool. Now you're probably noticing that we used the concatenating operator, and this appends an item to the end of a list. It works, but it's not the most efficient way, especially as our cart grows. So we probably want to do something. I'm going to just delete this. We probably want to do something like this. Inside square brackets, we want to append our item with the cons operator. And I think I might have called this a pipe operator in the last video. And that's a mistake. It's a cons operator. And we want to use the cons operator and prepend it to the cart. So now instead of appending it to the end of the list, we're putting it at the front of the list, which is faster and it avoids traversing through the entire list. And normally the most recently added item to a shopping cart should be at the top of the list anyways, right? So when you add an item, it's always the top of the list. So if we save this and go back to our terminal and just hit recompile, let's just go ahead and make sure everything works the same way. So I'm going to pull up the shopping cart.add and we'll add a new item this time, and it'll be an atom pair. And we should probably change the price. Let's make the price of our pair like $3.49. And then if we hit enter, oh, I also forgot to pass in our old cart. I used the empty bracket again. Don't do that. So I'm going to do this again, and we're going to re-add our apple. And our apple was $2.82, if I recall. And instead of passing in an empty list, we want to pass in our cart variable. And now when I hit enter, we now have 2 maps in our cart list. And so if you notice, we're prepending, so the apple that I just added is now in the front of the list instead of at the end of the list. And let's just add one more item to our cart just so we have a few more items. So as we're messing around with new functionality, we have some things here. So I'm going to add a new atom and we'll say orange. And then the price of our orange is going to be $2.76. And there we go. So now we have a list of 3 items, all with names and prices. Now we need to be able to remove an item from a list, right? So let's create a new function called def remove underscore item. And this is going to take a cart and an item, and we'll pattern match again. So we'll set item equal to a map that has the key name and the key price, and then a do block. And what's really cool is list has a function, the list module, called delete, where we can just pass in the list, which is our cart, and then we can pass in the map or item that we want to delete, which is our item. It'll find our item based on the keys inside and remove it. And this is a simple and effective way for just removing a specific item from our cart. Let's go ahead and save this and go to our terminal and hit recompile. Now I'm not going to save this to our new cart because I still want items I want the 3 items in our cart. So I'm not going to reset the variable here. But if we do shopping cart and then remove item and we pass in cart, and then we can pass in, let's remove our apple from the middle of the list. So if we pass in a map with a key name apple, and then our key price with $2.82, and then close off those curly braces and parentheses. Now when we hit enter, we should get a list back with just orange and pear inside. And there we go. We only have orange and pear inside. So it removed the specific item that we passed in. Now, what if we want to remove the first item from a list? Let's do that. Let's do def remove first. And this time we just need to pass in the cart, because we don't have to specify the item because we know it's the first item that's going to get removed. So do a do block, and then we can do something like this. We can say list dash or dot delete, and we can do delete at. And delete at allows us to specify the index we want it deleted at. So we can pass in our list cart, and then at index 0, we want to delete our first item. So let's go back to our terminal, recompile this. And now if I type in cart, you'll see that we have 3 items in it. And now when we pass it into remove first function, orange will disappear. So if we do shopping cart dot remove first and pass in our cart, we should have apple and pear left. And there we go. We have apple and pear left. We can use delete at for this, or we can do it a more Elixir way, which would be pattern matching. And if you remember, we briefly touched on head and tail with pattern matching. So if we're passing in a cart, which is a list, we can actually pattern match the values of our list. And so normally we can do head and then cons operator, and then not rest, we'll say tail. And then, so tail would be everything but the first item, and head would be the first item. But since we don't care about the first item, we can put an underscore there because we're not going to use it. And then we can simply just return tail. And that will be all the items but the first one. And let's go ahead and go back to our terminal, do recompile. And now if we pull up cart, we have 3 items again. But if I do shopping cart dot remove underscore first and passing cart, we're going to get back apple and pear again. So apple and pear, because we removed the head from the list. And that's pretty cool. And now doing things like that, pattern matching and like head tail notation are very common ways, are very Elixir-y ways of doing things. So you're going to want to kind of lean into that, because you'll see as we move on, like how powerful this stuff can be, especially when we get into the recursion lesson in the next couple modules.
Hi, I'm Jacob. My YouTube channel and podcast reach thousands of engaged Elixir developers every month. If you're looking to promote your developer tools, services, or job opportunities to a focused audience of Elixir professionals, head to elixirmentor.com and let's discuss sponsorship options.
All right, so now let's pretend we want to get like the first and last item of our cart, right? So let's create another function. We could say get first and just pass in a cart again. And list has a great function called first. And you just have to pass a list in, and then it will return the first item for us. So if we recompile in our terminal and we just do shopping cart dot get first and pass in our cart, it will return orange to us. And there we go. And we can do a similar thing for last. So def get last, passing cart, and list, we can just do list.last and pass in our list, which is cart. Save it and go back to our Elixir terminal, recompile. And now if we do shopping cart dot get last and pass in our cart, we will get a pair back. So that's really easy. The list module has so much awesome stuff in it. So if you want to look at more things that are available, more functions that are available in the list module, you can say view on hex docs. And yes, where you can open this web page. And you can go through and you can see lots of examples here. And then on the left side here, if you click functions, you can actually just see a list of functions that are available with examples. And so you can go through all of these, play around, mess with it. So like you can duplicate and all fun stuff. First, we just use that. So that's pretty cool. You can flatten a list. And what that means is if you have a list of other items with other like nested lists and things, when it flattens it, that'll put it all in one list. It'll get rid of the embedded lists. And so there's a lot of good stuff here. Look through it. The docs, the Elixir docs are always really good. So just reading through them, you'll learn a lot. And you can just see this whole list on the left side. Lots and lots of stuff. But let's go ahead and jump back into our project. We want to calculate the total price of every item in our cart, right? Let's create a new function called total. So def, let's call it get total. And it's going to take a list called our cart and then our do block. And now list has 2 functions that are really cool. It has a fold left and a fold right function. So we can do list.fold left. This is used to reduce a list to a single value by applying a function to each element of the list from left to right. Basically, we're going to be totaling the price of each item from the left side of our list to the right side, okay? And you can do it from right to left. Since it's just adding, it doesn't matter which one we use right now. The first thing it takes is a list, which is our cart. And then the accumulator, which is going to be like our total, right? Our price total, that's going to start at 0. So we pass in 0, and then it takes an anonymous function. So we would do fn, and then as we're going through the cart, when it's going to be iterating through, each piece we stop on is a single item of items, right? So we're going to call it item. And then our accumulator is going to be called the total. Okay, and then inside this anonymous function, we want to take the current item we're on, dot price. We only care about the price, and we want to add it to the total, and then end the anonymous function. So what's happening here is we're passing in cart as the list and our accumulator 0. We're looping through, and each item we're grabbing the price and adding it. So the first time we add it to 0, and then we're going to add the next price and the next price, right? So let's go ahead and save this and test this out. If we recompile and now do shopping cart dot get underscore total passing cart, we should get just a total price back. And there we go. We get $9.07 back. So there is one thing that I forgot to go over when we did anonymous functions in the last video. Just like functions, remember we had a shorthand version? Well, we can also do a shorthand version of anonymous functions with the capture operator. And what that looks like is I'm going to just underneath copy this. I'm going to do list.foldl. And then we're going to pass in our cart and the accumulator 0. And now where our anonymous function is, we do the capture operator, which is that. And what we do inside is, so basically this is equal to fn and end. It's all in one. So inside parentheses here, this is basically everything that's happening right here. Okay. And then all we have to do is to get the first argument, we use the capture operator and then 1 for the first argument, which is in our case item. So we're grabbing the price. So then we do dot, and then we can get price from that argument. And then we want to add it to the total. And the total here is, as you can see, item 1 is argument 1, total is argument 2. And so all we have to do is capture operator 2, and we're adding it to that. So shorthand, I think, is really cool, but sometimes I think it kind of degrades on the readability. So like a lot of times when I'm writing code and I'm using anonymous functions, I'll usually keep them in the longhand version, but I think it's worth noting that you can do this because in some cases it makes sense. I'm going to just comment this out so we can test that the shorthand version actually works, and then save it and go to our terminal and like recompile. And then if we do shopping cart.get total, we should get $9.07 again. So as you can see, it works exactly the same way. Now, what if we want to be able to apply discounts to our total? Let's create a private function for subtracting our discount, or I should say returning our discounted value. Okay. So if we created def p, and I'm doing P because we don't need access to this outside of this module. This means we wouldn't be able to access it from the Elixir shell, all that stuff. It's a private function. And so we're going to say, call this subtract underscore discount. And this is going to take the total and the discount value. And then inside of our do block, we can just do total times, and then inside of, so do 2 parentheses, and we're going to do 100% minus our discount. So we're going to pass in integer values. So like for 10%, we would pass in 10. And then we're going to just divide this by 100. And what that will give us is 100, say 100 minus 10 is 90. So we'll take 90% times our total. And we're dividing it by 100. So it's 0.9 times the total. All right. And then we can do something as simple as updating our get total. And now we can just add another argument here called discount. And if right here, we can say total equals, and then we can just call our subtract discount, pass in that total value, and our discount. So now if I save this and we recompile and we call our get total and pass in our 10% discount, now we get $8.16 back. So that's pretty cool, right? Now we do have a problem here. We no longer support just passing in nothing without a discount. And we don't always want to write a discount. Like, it would be kind of annoying even if we had to write 0, right? So we can actually set a default value to discount if it's not passed in. And all we have to do is do double backslash and then the default value that we want. So in this case, we're going to set the discount to 0 if nothing's added. Now, if you save that, go back to our terminal and recompile. And now if we pass in our cart without a discount, it still works and nothing's broken. And that's pretty cool. Now there's one thing that I want to do to make this a little more Elixir-y, and we haven't introduced this yet, but it's called the pipe operator. And the pipe operator, so currently we're storing a variable called total and then passing it into subtract discount. So using the pipe operator, we can actually delete this. And what list.foldLeft returns will automatically get passed into subtract discount using the pipe operator, which is the cons operator greater than. That's the that is the pipe operator. And it automatically gets put into the first argument spot. So now we can just delete total comma. And that total from list.foldLeft is getting passed into our discount function. So now if we save this and go back to our terminal, recompile, and call that function again, you can see we still get $9.07 back. So it still works as expected. I think we have a pretty solid grasp on how we can work with lists now. We even learned a few more Elixir tricks like shorthand anonymous functions, the pipe operator, and using default values for our arguments. Take some time to play around and practice using everything we learned and explore the list module for more functions you can use. And I will see you in the next video.